Well, now I want to move along to our next guest, who is Martin Brechbiel, MMR. Martin, welcome.
Oh gosh, there I am. What do you know? Almost forgot I was here. Let's see if I can get my slides somewhere.
Don't you dare do that to me.
Okay, whatever that was. There we go. It actually worked. Okay, so we finished a project last week, which unfortunately means we have to start a new one. And of course, that means I run around like a madman in my shop trying to get something started in under a week's time. Fortunately, I'm usually working on 5 different things at once, so it's just a matter of running around in a circle till I get very, very dizzy and decide, oh, that project there, that's the one. So here's what we're going to work on. We're going to build one of these things. Quirky, strange, odd, but recognizable. It's been produced in various scales, and unfortunately, as far as I know, not in O scale, in 2-rail format. I think either MTH or Lionel made a very toy-like model of it, which I decided I didn't particularly care for. And even just taking the chainsaw to it and chopping it up, putting it back together wasn't going to be good enough. So I thought, well, we'll try to make something reasonably close. Not exact, but reasonably close. So we take you're not running around the shop, you grab a bunch of things, throw them on the table and say, well, that looks like that looks like enough parts to start with. We got doors, we got a roof section, one of the old Northeastern or whoever freight car roofs. We got AV brake system components, a couple of ladders. Fortunately, I happen to have a pair of Caboose bay windows castings from Scale City Designs, the old keel line, but those save a lot of pain and suffering trying to replicate those. Some Traincraft windows, and then some Traincraft steps. It was the closest thing I had that made sense or looked acceptable or good enough. And there's a Traincraft smoke jack too. So that's where we're going to start. Whether we'll end with it all, I have no idea. Oh, some precision scale door runners supports. I don't know why I have them, but here's a good excuse to use them up and get rid of them. So, got a toolbar at the top, and I can't read my own screen. Well, okay, so we just test fit things here and see how things work out. First thing up, those got to just glue up a bunch of scrap pieces of scribe siding to make the sides. I don't know how long they're going to be because I don't really know how big that car is. I'm guessing it's around 40 feet or thereabouts, but it could be 36 or plus or minus whatever. And we just want to put things together and space things out and say, well, that looks about right. And if it looks about right, it's going to be close enough. So we have a step at one end, a pair of windows. These are actually glued together. Bay window, door. I think it came out of some Atlas cars. And the other step. And where this step goes is open to a little bit of debate. And of course, there's an end sill that goes on the outside of these steps. So there's another foot or so. So we're up to about 40 feet, give or take a little bit. I think that's within a reasonable doubt. And that resin flat carb recast that I had, I decided, no, not going to use that. I don't like it. A lot of pain and suffering to cut holes in it and cut the steps out and fiddle about with it. And I thought, well, we're just going to make something out of wood. Some more scribe siding, different width, some resin bolsters, piece of northeastern scale lumber center sill. I think it's the last piece of that I had, and some strip wood on the outside. And that just kind of lays out the basic frame for what goes under this car. Okay, so okay, so let's back up. One of the smart things to do at this point, when I don't think I was smart enough to do it at the time, nope, wasn't, is to drill the holes in the bolsters before you glue them down. If you have a long enough drill bit, that's not a problem, but it can be annoying to reach in there with the drill and rip up your car with the electric drill in your hand, and with one hand hold the car in the other. You thread through a piece of 32 thousandths phosphor bronze wire. The hole that's drilled in here is wide enough to let this piece of 3/64 tubing pass through. That's soldered to some 32 thousandths wire. Pass that whole thing through, drop a ACC and some goo on it, snap it together. We got a train line installed, some cross members, and then we start laying out. Well, this brake cylinder should go right about here, give or take a little bit. And we've also cut out spaces on all four corners for where the steps are going to go. Okay, so we put in the brake system. That's easy enough to do. Lots of plumbing, lots of little pieces of wire, lots of holes drilled in white metal castings glued into place, some resin brake levers, clevises made out of Grant line parts, 25 thousandths phosphor bronze wire, and some brake hangers made out of some 15 by 60 thousandths brass. That's all glued in place and then tight, and that gets us our brake system. Pretty fair and easy. Well, okay, I will tell you, connecting these two to these two over here and making that piece of wire and getting it fitted together, there's a certain amount of colorful language that is required, and perhaps some strong drink, and one's patience does get exhausted after a while trying to snap that wire into place, but it is doable, and I've done it enough times to learn probably not to do any more AV brake systems for a long time. Okay, so that said, we put the steps on, and they're just white metal castings, as I stated earlier, and they're just attached with a little bit of goo and some CA. Slide them together on the glass working surface, and they're not coming back off. So now now we have a base to work on. And you flip it over, and first thing to do is add a little scribe siding between the steps, just 1/32 thick. That's for the end platforms that are going to actually be seen. So we'll worry about that. And you can see I've pieced all this stuff together. So waste not, want not on the scribe siding. I have all kinds of plastic envelopes and stuff filled with leftovers, and that's the first go-to place whenever I'm starting something is, what do I have in the leftovers box that I can put together and use for this project? Okay, so we set the sides into place with all the components on them. The windows there's holes cut out, they're dropped into place. Everything's glued into place to their CA, goo, or the combination of the two. So they're mirror images through this axis, through this plane up here. And that puts those two sides fairly close together. This was a little more of an interesting challenge because that roof section. So we've got to get that measured properly. So if we know where the steps are, and we know where the end sill is going to be, we know the length of the roof section. Cut the roof the right length. Well, the next problem is this all has to go. This whole section at both ends has to go. Doing that cleanly by hand is a bit of a challenge. The easiest way to do that is with a table saw and flipping it over and nibbling it out with a blade. I don't have a table saw. I have a radial arm saw, and no, I did not do this with a radial arm saw. I actually turned it on edge, clamped it to a block, and fed it into my bandsaw and cut this back this far with the bandsaw on edge, and then just cut this off flat here and popped it off. A little bit of sanding, and it's pretty good. Came out better. Actually, came out better than I thought it would. I had a fear that I just made a nice piece of firewood, but it came out just fine. Okay, so we need ends and doors in the ends. So we have some Grant Line Caboose doors. I had 2 of those in a pack. The windows were missing out of the pack. Perfect. I don't need the windows. We'll just use the doors. So some more scribe siding, some 16th-inch thick scribe siding. Set that aside. We'll use that later once we get the sides on the base and custom fit the ends in and then cut the doors in. And that's where we're going to stop for this week on this project. And I don't know what's going to happen next week between now and then, because I'm on the road for a couple of days and I'm waiting for a set of decals for this car, which hopefully they may show up next week. We'll see. It's always an adventure. And if there's any questions, scream them out now.
Anybody have any questions for Martin?
It was all too easy.
Martin, thank you so very much. You have a great evening. It was too easy.
It was too easy.
You're getting too good, Martin. You're getting too easy.